Money's a ride or die. From that perspective, you can't get away from it. But let's not focus on the you can't get away from it. Let's focus on it's here for life. Isn't that exciting? Money is here for your entire life and it's ready to support you. It wants to be loved and it wants to love you. That's exciting. Okay, so let's work with money from that position. Welcome, friends. Stormie Calder here. In this video, I'm going to take you through a perspective of understanding commitment and responsibility, how you perceive your relationship with money, through a segment of something I taught in my program, Money Recoded. If you want to learn more about Money Recoded, it's a 9-week spiritual program to help you rewrite your relationship with money. I will leave a link in the description below. Understanding that money is a ride or die, we can kind of tackle the fact that it is a lifelong commitment. And you can either be stressed out about that commitment, or you can go, well, what would I be willing to commit to? I'd be willing to commit to money under these conditions, under these circumstances, under the, higher self. It would take this for me to be very happy with this commitment. And then higher self is like, thank you for negotiating. I needed to know whether or not you wanted caviar or shrimp or whatever freaking thing. And I think that's how we should look at money. A very, very special soulmate relationship, not to replace your love, not to replace your human relationships. But I think that money just gets a bad rap in a lot of other ways. And this is the way that I've found in my mind to shortcut the process of seeing and perceiving and interacting and engaging with money from a place of sacred love. Commitment is really about being willing to put in the daily effort to grow and change and develop your relationship, in this case with money, every day for the rest of your life. Money is a ride or die. I actually don't know why more of spiritual leadership, and maybe I'll just front run it for now, doesn't embrace money as a ride or die, because it is a ride or die. You have to engage with money for the rest of your life, no matter what your relationship is. So, you don't really have that much of a choice. You can't just neglect. You could just neglect it, but you're going to be homeless somewhere or falling off the face of a cliff or not eating. I don't know. So we're kind of not forced into a relationship with money, but it's like, it is your ride or die as a human. So why don't we look at it as a ride or die? And we'll just eliminate the die part. We're just here for the ride. Like, I'm here for the good ride with money. I'm here for the good level of commitment, So I'm posing that in a way where your mind will be able to assimilate to this energy quickly, where essentially I'm giving you just so many different aspects mentally to dissolve resistance around any idea that money might be any level of a discomfort or enemy for you. I think that's really what I'm doing energetically, is I'm posing so many different ideas that are like, but look at how logical this is when we think about it from this perspective. I want to dive very deep into commitment here. Understanding commitment and your relationship to commitment. It's hard to get any traction spiritually and materially if we are not committed. The higher self will try to get behind you. Will try, like my higher self was chasing me around for years trying to get me to commit to either people or things or, jobs or what have you. And it just makes the process take that much longer. I'm really shortcutting your process right now by teaching you about and around commitment, because if you can really commit to a path, which is only the path that you actually want to be on, Spirit's never going to ask you to actually compromise, then your higher self can anticipate the trajectory of where you're going because you've committed to a path and because you're actually solid about it. And once the higher self can anticipate where you're going, it can start to anticipate your needs ahead of time and can start to anticipate the resources ahead of time, and will start to plant it on your path. The issues that I ran into in a lot of my experience is that I would commit and then I go, oh, I don't know if I want that actually. I'm going to change my mind. And higher self will get behind you no matter what. But every time we change our minds a lot, which happens a lot when we're younger, especially because we're looking to gain experience, it's like a whole nother startup track for the higher self to be like, okay, let me try to anticipate their needs again. Like, let me see where they're going. Because the higher self is trying to get up with you. It's trying to keep up speed with you. It's trying to anticipate your needs. But you have to be on a committed journey in order for those needs to be anticipated and met in the way that you'd likely prefer, where it's just kind of taken taken into account ahead of you getting there.
It's so funny because I just feel so responsible right now. My inner child is just like, we don't like commitment. you know. um, it's such a responsible conversation I'm having with you guys, but I truly promise that this level of maturity will save you so much time with back and forth questioning of yourself. Is this the right path for me? Am I really meant to do this? Does God really exist? Do they actually even care about me? Like, can I actually build wealth? Well, here's the truth, okay? From the spiritual perspective, if you are doing shit that you hate, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to build wealth from that place. Maybe if you shut down your spirituality entirely and just retreated into your material world and neglected everything it is to have a soul, maybe, but you're not that sort of person. You're here for the spiritual journey. So in order to get into the building of your wealth, you're going to have to be excited about it, which also is wonderful. Can we just like touch on that for a second? Like how many people are like, I have to do this shit that I hate in order to live. It's like, well, for now, but there are options and ways for us to start perceiving our reality and start understanding our preferences and start moving towards what we want from the position of understanding what we would be willing to commit to and committing to it over and over and over again. And if there is a transition, maybe there's transition between what you're doing right now for work or for money and what you'd like to be doing. And I was in that position for years, flipping back and forth between things before I really just was like, no, I know exactly what I want to do. I would like to permanently be coaching, and I want to be doing online programs, and I want to be constantly producing videos, video work. Like that's what I enjoy the most. That culmination of things is what I can commit to essentially for the rest of my life. Like I'm happy to make that commitment between me and spirit, my career, which then makes it very easy for me to show up on the day-to-day basis. And I'm just painting that picture for you to see even just the difference between how I'm handling my commitment with my career. It's like you have to know what you like and what you'd be committed to. And when things piss you off or things aren't working, pay attention to it. Because, like, I spent probably 10 years of my career deep into Instagram. I was an Instagram coach. I ran an Instagram marketing agency. I would grow people's accounts, public figure accounts on Instagram. But I really didn't like Instagram. And I thought that there was something wrong with me at the later parts of my career with that because I was like, I should just really be committed here. I can make a lot more money if I could just enjoy this more. But the truth is, it just wasn't in my spiritual purpose. And I knew that. I was like, this is too surface level. It's a very hot game. Who's hotter? Like it's plastic. Instagram is plastic. I don't know what else to say about it. So I was in enough pain where I shifted my focus and said, what am I willing to check out? What am I willing to commit to? And I was like, I'm willing to commit to live streaming. I'm willing to commit to, well, actually with YouTube, it started out with 2 videos a month. I was like, I'm willing to commit to new moon and full moon videos. So like check in with yourself, like whatever, wherever you are for your money, for your career, for your relationships. So like, what am I willing to commit to? And make that micro commitment. And then allow it to grow and see what you like. And again, I'm pressing even more because my spirit guides are really bringing it through. Like nobody's asking you to commit to anything you don't want to commit to. That's where things get messy. Commit to what you want, and it's going to be enough. And that commitment is a sacred commitment between you and your higher self, whatever that thing is going to be. And that opens up, again, the trajectory where your higher power, your higher self is able to begin to anticipate your needs in a more practical way. Because you're staying on one path. So ultimately, you get clear on what you want to commit to and then focus on it and move towards it daily. And that comes down to identifying your priorities and what you'd be willing to commit to financially with your job, whether it's self-employment, investment options, or I wanted to add this option as well. That could even be focusing on running a household. Now, I want to cover commitment from another place here too. You can choose to commit to struggle, or you can choose to commit to partnership. Struggle is no less of a commitment than partnership. Money and responsibility actually do come hand in hand a lot. And I think that's why it's difficult for a lot of people is because we don't understand how we claim responsibility or what feels right in responsibility. You could choose commitment to struggle or choose commitment to partnership. I'm pointing it out because I think those were the biggest awakening moments for me, was realizing it's just as much energy. It takes the same amount of energy. So where do I want to focus that energy? It's work no matter what. It's commitment no matter what. So where am I focusing? Am I focusing on the difficulty, on the struggle, on the overcompromise, on the hating my situation, on the victim, placing myself in a victim role or placing others in a victim role? Or am I focused on the claiming responsibility, stepping up, having hard conversations with people, being vulnerable about my needs, both with humans and spirit and myself? Dear God, actually, let's cover that. Like all of us, like it's actually takes a lot of humility to be vulnerable with yourself and say like, this is no longer working for me. Those are breakthrough moments for most humans, and they are the hardest fucking conversations to have with yourself because you got to really look at yourself and feel extraordinary pain and pressure. And that's the only way we really make change, is by feeling that. Which is why I will never tell you guys not to feel it or to bypass it, because I'm like, no, that, what I just mentioned is the condition that it takes to bust yourself out of whatever the hell you've been going through. And I've done it so many different times in my life, both financially and in relationships, that I will never shy away from that pain because it does create the conditions that you need to just bust out and to glow up in ways that people literally will covet. They'll be like, I can't believe you did that. How did you glow up like that? Like, that's not even fair. Like, are you the same person? I get stuff like this all the time. And I'm like, it's plenty fair. I was just willing to suffer in my ability to see and be vulnerable with myself and say, this is not working with or for me. And in that process, I embraced that pain. I made the changes. I let go. I was very vulnerable through the process. And every time we do that, there is a natural glow up process. You become more attractive. Your wealth increases. Your circumstances become better. And then people go, how did you do that? I want that. And you're like, well, you'd have to sit in that little lump shit of pain that you haven't dealt with yet. Like, that's what it's going to take. And then you got to make the changes. And then you actually got to commit and you got to follow through. There are so many steps. Like, people are like, I want to change my life, and go, get ready. It's a commitment. I'm happy to show that commitment every step and stage of my awareness and journey, because I just want to pull the veil down and show people like, this is what it takes, and why shy away from any of it? You get to have a good life. Like, why not be available for it? Like, it literally takes just as much energy to hate your life. It just does. It just does. It's the same amount of energy to complain as it is to just do it. It's going to hurt no matter what. Like, get over it. Like, it's just, I don't know how else to like say it gently. It's just like, it's going to hurt no matter what. The point is here, it's learning the discernment of that pain. What sort of pain is growth and what sort of pain is just pain? When it's just pain, I'm out. I'm like, I have no commitment. Get out. But I've gotten very good at understanding the discernment of pain around growth, and I'm willing to embrace that sort of pain. Of course, we're also going to be embracing relaxation and play and balancing this with many other aspects of light energy. But we're diving into the commitment aspect of it because it's often avoided by most people I meet. Will always empower you guys to come back to yourselves, to bring your power to yourself, to trust yourself, which ultimately, you know, especially based on our first video too, like really comes down to discernment. Discerning like, what is it that I want? What is it that I like? What is it that I can commit to daily, micro commitments? What is it that I can commit to long term, and kind of juggling those things too? What keeps me in my long-term practice and business is that I've built my business in a way that I can see myself committing to for like probably at least 2 decades. Like, I can get behind the sort of work that I'm doing. Those are choices on the daily basis. So it's like thinking that way, and then thinking in terms of like, okay, well, what's the day-to-day commitment? Because I can't constantly think in terms of that bird eye view of 20 years. Like, again, we have to be able to juggle spiritual and material. I'm kind of just riffing here. That's where I see commitment. When I relate to commitment as a term and an understanding, the only thing that would get Stormie to commit is knowing that I can relax through obstacles. Like, because nobody wants to deal with any of this shit. You know, the second you start coming up against fear barriers, limitations, scarcity mindset. Like we all want to just bounce. The way that I got myself into being very focused and very committed and very dedicated to everything that I do is I opened myself up to saying, whenever there's a problem, I'm allowed to push up against the walls and expand and see what's here. I'm allowed to explore it. I'm allowed to take up space in it. I don't have to get into that restriction mode. Even me doing that, I can feel it. And I can feel when people bump up against those barriers. And I'm like, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't get good results. So I'm like, if there's anything I can really do in this program, it's like really training you to open up in those spaces energetically and emotionally, because that's where you're going to find your solutions, the ones that don't exist, the ones that your higher self is like planning for you and is waiting for those moments to expand, for you to expand. And then it's like, oh my God, they found it. And then your higher self can drop a little like cool event or synchronicity or magical moment or money package. Really magical shit happens, you guys, like in those moments. But you have to not restrict. So that I'm teaching just as an overall perspective. And I know my energy is moving through the program in that way to just teach you guys to expand and open in those moments, to be curious, not just mentally curious, but energetically curious. Okay, I have to say it, so I'm going to say it. All right. All of this comes down to stop looking for a quick fix. That's what I want to tell everyone and anyone. Like, there is no pill. You're not going to swallow a pill and overnight become a millionaire. You're going to become a millionaire because it's what you want, it's what you can commit to, and because you're strategically constantly looking for ways for that to look positive for you. Like evidence that you can play your way there, perhaps. If you need an example for that, just please look at Sir Richard Branson. He is a pristine example of someone who has played to billionaire status. Oh my gosh, I forget the Surrender Experiment, I think it is. Michael Singer, he played his way to $1 billion too. Like, they're entrepreneurs. But the mentality of play and exploration opens up the ability to create anything. And those are two examples of people that played their way to billionaire status. So if you need to know whether or not it's possible, read about either of them or both of them to give you an example that it's possible. Let this be a process. Let this be a curious unfolding. You don't have to force anything into place or make it happen overnight. This really is a long-term marathon of you learning how to hold and understand your spiritual and material needs. You're growing your financial needs and growing yourself spiritually at the same time. And when I say stop looking for a quick fix, it's not that this stuff can't be done overnight, because it kind of can. It kind of can. I just more want to pose you releasing the idea that this urgency that it has to be like fixed, like it's a disease problem overnight. It's like, just let's let go of this whole idea of instant gratification. If you're willing to just put in the work and move step by step, like, spirit will haul ass to fill that gap for you, especially if you're a committed individual. I was touching on this because a lot of people think about quick fix energy around money. Like, I have to win the lotto. My problems will end the moment I get like an extra $1 million. And then these same people that win the lotto end up burning through the money in 3 years and then are broke again. It really has little to do with the amount of money you're given, and it has everything to do with who you are and how you manage your energy. Most people think that their problems will be fixed with money. A lot of things can be helped and aided and supported with more money, for sure. Like, absolutely. But the idea of working through problems is becoming a resourceful person, and that may or may not be related to your finances. Becoming a resourceful person is becoming a creative person. It's a person that sees solutions over problems. It's a person that can perceive opportunities when they're in front of their face. It's a person that can seize those opportunities and move forward through action in them and create commitments to them. And that may or may not be related to your finances. I'm bringing them together for you guys, but just to kind of create the separation for you to understand that not all your problems will be fixed with money, and that's not going to keep you away from money. You're going to attract the money. I'm saying, let's tackle the part of your mind that looks for quick fixes to things, and let's move it into a more long-term vision of understanding how you approach your energy, so that when money comes, it'll stick around. It'll make little money babies, like butterflies. It'll attract more little money butterflies, and they'll all come back to you, and then it'll start to grow, and you'll create a money garden. I'm here for the whole thing, okay? You guys know, I also just need to be real with you, because I actually want you to get real results. So I'm not going to hold back like the real human. development that comes alongside this content. So instead of on the quick fix category, it's instead focusing on more of a long-term commitment, because that takes you out of the quote, like, I need a handout type of mentality. Now, that mentality, I don't have any like issues against. When there are times when we do need handouts, there are times where we do need support and we do need help, which is okay. But that's not great to sustain long-term financial growth. And a lot of times people will ask for that sort of handout, like, I need a handout, in positioning it with the universe, with their higher selves. And sometimes the higher self will give you a handout. But if you want long-term growth, the idea or the concept of approaching constantly looking for a handout is not supportive for your own self-trust to feel confident enough to do what you need to do to make it a long-term thing. That's what I'm saying to you. So manifest whatever you got to manifest, whenever you got to manifest it. And if you need a handout, get a handout. But long-term, keep your eye on the prize. Make it a long-term commitment, because it will give you more stability and more confidence in how you approach your finances. You'll feel so much more confident with everything. So I like to think about it like a soulmate. Again, it doesn't replace the soulmate. It's just bringing that same loving, unconditional energy, cooperation energy to money, which works for me. I think it'll work for you guys too. You can keep me posted. Money is spiritual, money is sacred, and there is a way to work with money in a sacred way where your higher self will actually work with you to create monumental income and support in the material realm when we respect it as an extension of our personal energy. If you'd loved this video, this was a short segment in the many 40+ hours of content that I have as a deep dive in my program, Money Recoded, where we rewrite your energetic, emotional, and psychosomatic field around your relationship with money, and do a lot of very active energy healing work, bringing you reframes and new perspectives to think on, working with money from a place of non-resistance, from a spiritual place, and understanding money is a sacred act of your higher self communicating with you and you actually living through your human material experience in a way that is supportive to your spiritual development is what we cover in this program. We cover everything from God to money to sex to power to emotional intimacy to relationship to twin flame and soulmate energies, understanding the lens of perspective of money through all of those things. If you want to learn more, click on the description link below. Enrollment is open through this weekend. I'll be shooting 2 more live modules. The rest are already pre-recorded and uploaded to the dashboard. You get lifetime access. If you catch this video after enrollment closes, send me an email and you can apply for the next wave of enrollment. Until next time, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending you all the big love. I will see you soon, hopefully in Money Recoded. Peace.